HBO made a decision this week to go ahead and drop Lovecraft Country early. They put it on HBO Max. Not really sure why. The assumption is, I guess, to get more spotlight on the service, HBO Max, and to get a little more buzz about Lovecraft Country. So, yeah, we got episode 4 Saturday morning. Well, I think, Spencer, you watched it Saturday morning
Yeah,
when
I
it, when
woke
it
up and was like, "Fuck it."
Myself and Larry, I don't know when Larry watched it, either last night or this morning, but I watched it this morning, Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was this
And
morning for me also.
we're putting this review up earlier, so it's up before the episode airs on HBO. So full spoilers if you don't want that. Well, wait for the wait to watch the episodes. We're going right into it. What did you guys think about them dropping it early? And do you think this should be an ongoing thing or just a one time?
I think if they did it early all the time, oh shit, sorry, dog dropped
Oh,
something, like took off to go catch it. But I think if they drop it early, just like with Raised by Wolves, that's a new show also. So if they drop this early, people are coming to HBO Max to watch it early, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, there's another show on here. Let me watch this." I think that they're trying to get all their content, content, like a little bit, a spotlight on all of it. Because, like you said, Brian, there's not a whole lot of people using HBO Max at the moment, but doing stuff like this, even if it's a one-time shot, it may draw in a couple 100,000 more views, or
but yeah,
10,000 more subscriptions or whatever.
yeah, and I got to say it's better than what they usually do, where we get a holiday weekend and you find out, oh, there's no episode this week. You'll have to watch it next week. I like that
Yeah.
a lot better than, well, getting it early a lot better than waiting another week to see this episode and just kind of being caught off guard. I would have loved a little forewarning though if they advertised this maybe.
I think
Agreed.
I think too, though, if they are like, "Hey, if you have the app, you can watch it on Saturdays instead of Sundays," that would encourage more people to get the app than to use actual HBO. Because if
True.
you get to view it early, just like we're doing reviews and stuff. There's a lot of other people who would like to do reviews and do those kind of things. So I think anybody who wants to see it early, this would help them if they were, given an incentive to do so.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is Paul Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We recover, geez. We record, I don't even know why I said that. We record Lovecraft Country reviews every Sunday night. We're currently doing Raised by Wolves on Thursdays, The Boys on Fridays, and then we sprinkle some movie reviews around that. So hit that subscribe button if you enjoy what you're hearing. As I say, we're going to go right into spoilers. That ending scene, we're going to jump right into it. We're going right there. We have a lot of secrets around the character Montrose, who's Atticus's father. And we're learning a lot of things about him. There's a lot of things he's not saying, and we just don't know. We know he had access to the book, The Order of the Ancient Dawn's bylaws. He read it and then destroyed it. And we are introduced to a character at the end of the episode who's is going to be very important to the show. They
Right.
introduce the character. You're like, oh my god, this is a great win for Atticus and his crew. She's going to be able to translate this language, and and she has all this knowledge. Cool. She knew Titus directly,
Well,
and then bam, final scene. Montrose slits her throat to kill her.
but yeah, it's that whole last scene with Montrose, just that was a big WTF moment for me because I'm not quite sure whether he was going with what his current motivation seems to be, which is trying to protect his family and everything, and just trying to stop them from moving forward with figuring out these manuscripts, or if Montrose knows something else that maybe we don't know yet, or he has a little more knowledge than he's revealing at this point.
Well, like you
Well,
said, if maybe perhaps this, he's trying to keep a lot of the information under wraps and keep it away from Atticus. So I think he feared that this siren, this lady that they had, that she was going to, because Atticus saved her, did all this stuff. I think that his fear was that she was going to be complicit to Atticus and help him out, and he was trying to keep Atticus as much in the dark as possible at this point in time.
That's, I mean, it's like you said, it's one of the two. Either A, it was just simply him trying to keep them in the dark longer, and he knows that she's going to be able to translate some things, or B, he knows something that we don't, and he seems to have a lot of secrets. It's revealed throughout the whole episode that there's just things he's not telling Atticus, and then Atticus even has the line in the cave where because he's like, "How did you know how to solve that puzzle?" You know, and Atticus is a soldier, and he's like, "When I'm with my soldiers, I trust them with my life. I don't trust you."
Right.
And because you keep constantly not letting him in on anything really.
Well, yeah, because his dad's very secretive, and he's never opened up to him about anything. He's never really, seemingly treated him like a well, more than a burden, honestly. But I think we've learned now that's more Montrose just kind of playing close to the cuff. Him being gay as well, and also he knows about all these supernatural things seemingly, and he's just trying to tough out his son up, but he's doing it in his own ways. He's kind of being shitty the way he's doing it, but he seems to currently be motivated by trying to protect his son in some way.
If his son isn't toughened up by the age of 30, then it just ain't gonna fucking happen,
right?
Shit, it's like his son's a soldier who, you know what I mean? Like, he's pretty damn tough,
and probably the largest person in that town.
Yes.
Next
absolutely.
To
yeah.
That seems great.
Yeah. So there's basically, this episode had sort of 4 plot lines all running together, one of which I didn't know where it was going till the end, that being the one with Ruby. So you had the Titus Vault storyline, which we've been talking a little bit about. We'll save most of that for the end. We had the stuff with Christina, which really gave us some insight into how this order works, because we really don't know. And now, between Montrose telling us there are 34 lodges, and we find out that the cop is in fact that police department is part of the order, and his name, I wrote it down, Lancaster. So you have Captain Lancaster, who's part of the order, and she's not welcome there. He's sort of pissed that she's there, and he sends a couple of his guys, and then she turns around and sends her guy to beat the shit out of him during the episode. So these orders aren't all necessarily, all these lodges aren't all necessarily on the same page, basically.
Well, actually, my question is he part of the order? Because they have that conflict where she starts off saying, I don't recall going to your swearing in, and he says, I don't recall going to yours either. I think he may just be associated with them through the scientist that he worked with.
And you might be right. He may not be have been officially accepted, which complicates things even more, because now you have the lodges, and then potentially, like how in vampire lore you have the familiars. Well, what if he's sort of that? You know what I mean? Like he serves the order, but now he's doing his own thing on the side.
Yeah, he's an associate of some kind, because they seem to need that. As powerful as they are, due to their knowledge of magic and everything, we still see in the first couple of episodes, like, the entire village that seems to serve under the first lodge that we become familiar with. So they do need connections to some degree. They do need outside help, and for people to be aware of what they're doing in order to manipulate things behind the scenes.
What if, similar to, like you said, Brian, vampires, if they use him to get access to other lodges? Maybe lodges are, magically protected from other people or other, lodge members, perhaps, because maybe they're not all as, in it with each other that they were making it out to be initially. Perhaps they're all against each other. Like we had alluded to it before, that perhaps all these lodges are out for their own gain. So, some of those glyphs that we saw, those protection spells, maybe they're to keep, other wizards or other magical people or other lodges out. And William's more freely able to move between those because he's not a sworn in lodge member.
Yeah. Well, we know that it's more than just he's just a guy because he has muscle. And you say, well, he just has the police. Now there's more to it. The guys that were in the car, even though they're probably cops, they were not dressed like cops. They were dressed very nice. They were in a nicer vehicle. So there's money floating around in some way. He clearly had a prisoner of some sort when Christina goes over to the door and looks in. Uh, he was wielding some level of influence over a large group of people. And to what is his goal? What is he trying to do? I don't know.
Yeah, and again, that could have been his connections through the doctor, or it could be, that could have been a thing that the doctor used to manipulate him. The just presented him with the possibility of becoming a lodge member.
I was talking about William Draco Malfoy, how he's able to kind of move freely around because he's not sworn.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So using him as like a familiar as to get access to other people's lodges, because perhaps, the glyphs that are in those things are protecting them from other lodge members. I think that the police captain, whatever, is because the doctor's no longer there. I think he was probably number 2 in charge, and now he's running that lodge. Christina was not in charge, and she was also not welcome in any lodges because they had mentioned that before because she was female. So when they were talking about her being sworn in, I think that, she's not welcome in any of those other places either. The only reason she was probably welcome in, the Braithwaite Lodge was because she was a Braithwaite. Like she's, blood, so they kind of made an exception, but I don't think that she was a sworn member either.
Well, she wasn't one either, and they kind of pointed that out in the first episode. Well, she did when she said she wasn't allowed at any of their meetings or anything. She wasn't technically a lodge member just because she was a woman.
Yeah. For a second, I was wondering if her and that guy were the same person. If she somehow shapeshifted into him. And then I remembered, I believe they were both in a scene in the first or second episode. So I was like, no, maybe that's not it. He's just a weird character. I just don't know where he fits in. But he does lure in Letty's sister Ruby, and clearly that's to play against Atticus and Letty and that crew. Meets her at a bar, promising her things. It reminded me a lot of the Needful Things, Stephen King's Needful Things, sort of, what is it that you desire? I'll provide it for you, but at a cost,
Yeah.
And that would, they'll deal with the devil, if you will. So they were setting all, at first I didn't know where that storyline was going. And then I was like, oh, shit, okay. I see exactly where it's going. And we got a little bit of it in the preview for next week. The other storyline was with the ornery. George's wife has it. She's very familiar with astrology, and there's a reference to there being 2 sons, and she also gets the atlas, George's atlas, at the end of the episode, and now she wants answers. So she's getting all the shit that everybody else is trying to get a hold of. She's getting, and now she's basically going on her quest, and I'm very, very interested to see where that leads.
Right. They're trying to keep her out of these adventures, but if they actually just would talk to her, they've got a lot of their answers already.
Exactly.
Yeah, how much of the information that they're looking for is literally already known to somebody who's very close to them?
But they keep shutting each other out, and they're not sharing any information or trying to help each other. I even think what Montrose is doing. Well, I mean, obviously, I feel what Montrose is doing is foolish, because obviously Tick's not going to give up on this, for one. So him trying to shut Tick out is dumb. Tick being mad at his dad, so not going to him, pressing him for more answers is stupid. I think the only one that's using common sense here, well, in our main group, is Letty.
Yeah, she's super driven, real smart. She's going to end up either fucking them over because she's a little too driven, or she's going to be the one to solve all this shit.
I think she's going to be the saving grace here, because she seems to have everything together. Like we see towards, I believe, the beginning of the episode where Christina tries to walk in the house and the barrier's up and everything, and she's the one mentioning that they need to find ways to defend themselves and everything. So she'll be the one to put, I think, the most work in as far as, you know, your common sense solutions. She probably, if this wasn't seemingly going to be her sister's angle, she probably would have been the one in the group to actually study magic to some degree.
Yeah. The Titus Vault stuff. First of all, let's talk about the journey. Oh, go ahead.
Beforehand, I just thought of something. If they were able to, because Letty didn't, you know, she put the little X up on the door. Does that mean that Christina's like a ghost or something? Because remember, they put that goat blood on their forehead to try and keep the ghosts away from them to protect themselves. What does that mean about Christina then?
Let's see.
You know what I'm saying? Because William, the Draco Malfoy character, is clearly physical. He was whooping the shit out of some people, but we haven't seen her really interact with anybody other than like through talking. And clearly the ghosts have enough ability to do that, but she wasn't able to enter any of the building or anything. So I wonder if that's a clue to that. I don't know.
That's a good point. And William, well, when William's sleeping with Letty's sister, aren't they in the house? Aren't they in that stairwell?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's a
I
very
didn't know. Good... I don't know which house. Yeah, was their house or was that his house?
I think that was their house.
I was pretty sure it was their house. You know, so that's actually a good point. That may be the case. Because it was my assumption that was her house. I mean, because I'm going to go ahead and assume that William doesn't live in that area anywhere nearby.
The only reason I'm going to say it's not, or my reasoning, I mean, I could be wrong, is Letty, Atticus, and they're all in that house at that exact night, unless it's a different night.
Well, I was going to say, do we know that's the same night or even the same time during that night?
I think he was with Ruby when they were all, you know,
having their natural treasure adventure.
But they came up the elevator. We see, I mean, it could be a different day. We see them her in bed in the previews. Like I said, it could be another day. But they came back to that house up the elevator, and they brought the siren and everything.
Well, yeah. I assume that happened like the next day or after they got back from their adventure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch. And I mean, it is an important point because it would matter as far as that marking. It looked bigger to me than their house, the open space. That's why I assumed it wasn't. Because their staircase has a wall to the left. This one didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, because their staircase is to the right, and there's like a wall, and then a handrail to the left. And this one, the camera was on the right side when he took her on the stairs. So,
yeah, hard to say with that one because I don't quite remember what
they didn't show those. I was too focused on them fucking. I was on the wall.
Anybody in the comments? Tell us who's right, who's wrong. I'll look it up when we get done, but. So yeah, it does sort of matter because we're trying to figure out who's affected by the warding off spirits or whatever that was going on, and then do you think that was a threat? Christina makes that quick little question. Well, who did this, or who knows how to do this? Almost like questioning, how do you know somebody that can do this? Do you think she would kill the woman if she found her?
I don't think she would. I just think that she's getting concerned that she's losing the upper hand to some degree because they're doing their own research. They're starting to learn their own rituals and things, and that takes the power out of her hands. For her to go after that woman, again, that would be a full-on wizard battle if she didn't catch her off guard the way that Montrose did with the siren.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm not 100% sure about the other characters yet. Like we're focusing so much on Letty and Atticus and stuff that sometimes I think that they're giving us clues out, readily in the open, but sometimes it's hard to tell what's exactly going on.
The journey. What did y'all think? Going back several weeks when the reviews went up, the first 5 episodes, one of the complaints I heard was some people didn't like how some of the music was used. And like I said, this was like 3-4 weeks ago. I've not had an issue with music throughout the series. This was the first episode where I think I know what they meant. Like this was the one where
Yeah.
it wasn't just like one scene, it wasn't two scenes. It was throughout the whole episode until probably the third act, the very last maybe 20 minutes. And it was how the music was used. It wasn't even so much the selections. It was the music would come in really loud. It would be in many cases a modern song. Some of the cases it wasn't. It was an older song. It would play for about 10 seconds and then just cut off. And they just kept doing. It was weird. It was I don't think the other episodes really did it like that. Like this episode seemed unique in the way they were presenting the music. Did it take you out of it? Did you like it? Did you mind it?
I think I'm gonna disagree. I think my problem partially was with the selection
Okay.
at this point. Because if they're putting like modern Marilyn Manson in this, I don't think it fits.
Rihanna.
I think any Marilyn Manson is probably a poor choice.
Right? Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, it's not the best choice, and you're not even.
Hopefully, some of our subscribers aren't, giant Marilyn Manson fans, but
Like, you're gonna lose half your subscriber base from this.
sorry,
Like,
He composed the Resident Evil soundtrack. I like that one.
haven't heard
you
it.
would.
the original, the first film, they did the soundtrack. But
I didn't
yeah,
have any issue
Go
with
ahead.
the songs in this one. Like zero. I think the only one that was a little questionable was the Marilyn Manson one because it didn't fit. Like the bitch better have my money. Like those kind of songs.
Yeah,
To me, as they were playing, they fit.
it fit the moment.
It fit the moment. It fit the attitude of what was going on. Marilyn Manson, just because I don't care for him very much, but I didn't have an issue with that either. I think that they were all trying to like create a mood, regardless of the music it is. That's all it's doing, whether it's fast, aggressive, whatever. 90% of music is just trying to create a mood, and I felt that it was creating the correct mood for what was going on.
True. But for me, it was, and it wasn't a huge problem. But more often, it hasn't happened in any of the other episodes. This was the first time where I legitimately got taken out of the scene. Like
Yeah.
I was more focused on the music than what was actually happening. That happened.
Is it because? Well, was it because, like you said, the way the music was presented, or the
It was the
musical
way
choice?
it was. I think I wouldn't have like bitch better have my money. Like I started laughing when it kicked in, and then it cut off. And honestly, I was fine. And then the next song did the same thing. But it's the way it was cut in. Go back and listen. The songs they come in, it's very loud, which is fine. Then it cuts off dead for instantly, and it happens like 4 or 5 times throughout this episode. And by this third one, I was, it was just like, who and why is the music being presented differently in this episode?
Oh, I get what you're saying. The fact that it was one after another was the issue.
It was so many songs this episode. It felt like somebody completely different. It felt like somebody completely different was running the music and the sound in this episode than past episodes.
Well, for me, it was that they played Marilyn Manson, and not only that, but they played like his new shit from what it sounded like, and that's not exactly the best of his catalog.
Anything
and that
like
it stuck
94.
out. It did stick out. It was weird. Well, believe it or not, they played one of his songs in one of the first or second episode. You
I
probably don't even
recognize that.
Okay, you did.
And I don't think it bothered me then.
It was subtle. I'm telling you, the way this episode was cut was way different than in the past episodes. Not even, like I said, not even so much what the musical choices were, just how they were presented, and so many. I don't know. But like I said, the only reason I brought it up was I remember some people had issues with the music, and I think this was the episode. I think this was the one that they probably were thinking of when they had that complaint. Um,
It wasn't enough to do anything for me. I have a
nah,
mouthful of food, by the way, but that
I'm
they
sitting over here
it did
starving.
it wasn't enough.
Been eating during this whole thing.
I had it muted, but then I was like, well, there's something I want to say, so I decided to do it with the mouthful of food. Um,
what are you eating? I'm just
uh,
curious.
a piece of Panera bread,
There
like a
you go.
piece of bread from Panera bread, with my pumpkin spice coffee.
Ah, that sounds good.
I'm gonna order that right after we're done.
I would suggest. I was telling Brian the other day, and hopefully they hear this too because I love their coffee. Get some free shit from them. Death Wish coffee. It is fucking amazing. They do like seasonal blends. They also do like barrel blends. So they do like a whiskey bourbon barrel type stuff. Uh, but this one's the pumpkin spice one, and Death Wish coffee's got like twice the caffeine and everything. It's quite fantastic.
Must be
But
pretty good. It was good enough for a free ad read just now. So
dude, it's not an ad read. Like I love it. It's my favorite. It's a little bit pricier, but I also don't go to Starbucks, so like my coffee budget is a lot lower than most people's. But oh yeah, it didn't take me out of the episode at all. And this, in fact, last week was one of my favorite episodes. This one, by far, was my favorite episode, by far. So the music, how it kind of switched in and out and stuff, it was not even close to enough to take me out of this episode. This one was my favorite.
I did love this episode. Like overall, it was a very good episode. It's probably my favorite also.
I liked it, but it was not my favorite. Last week's I liked better, but
You would.
I, I think as a whole, I just preferred last week's episode. I do think that the Titus Vault stuff was really cool, and there were a few really great scenes in that. Two scenes in particular were completely homages to other properties. It was completely. The bridge scene was straight up The Last Crusade, and the ending sequence in the ship was completely. I mean, it was Goonies. Even the way it was laid out and shot was very much like Goonies. Not a negative; those are positive things. I like the traps, the booby traps. I like the whole way it was done, and I can imagine that this episode was probably a pain in the ass for the actors having to be submerged in the water, and it was probably the fact that they built sets to do that is very impressive.
Well,
Um,
and like Larry said earlier, the National Treasure thing, they're inside of the museum. They're trying to, find the clue. And then, they move this one thing and the light hits this and ricochets off this. It, to me, felt like an adventure movie. And, those are some of my, and as much as Nicolas Cage is not the greatest actor, he has some really fun movies. And
bite your tongue, sir.
actually, as of late, Nicolas Cage has some not great movies, but I think that's due to choice of him trying to get some money real quick. But I love National Treasure. They're both fun movies. Goonies is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is a very adventure type episode, and I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, and that's got to be one thing I've liked about the series so far, which I was a little worried about it at first when it seems like we shifted genres a little bit every now and then. That every episode so far has kind of felt like it's almost in a different genre, and yet it fits together very neatly. Like last week's episode felt kind of noir with Letty investigating and everything. And that's probably why it's your favorite, Ryan. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, it was the horror elements. It was that. It was when they brought the priestess and she sacrificed the goat and all that.
The reanimator part.
The reanimator stuff. It embraced being horror and having possessions and all that. Like it went all the way into it, and it didn't hold back. And yeah, I really liked all that. Plus the stuff with Letty and Atticus. I like that whole relationship dynamic, which they played with in this episode as well.
I think that may be a theme to go forward, though. because even, we talk about Gravity Falls a lot, and I'm a huge fan of Gravity Falls. It's a great show. But to me, this reminds me of the way it's set up, where some episodes are a little bit more serious. Some episodes are
Shit,
horror
dude.
based.
With the
Some
book
episodes
stuff
are,
now, it's straight up
yeah.
Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I'm saying, though. You look at some of those episodes were horror kind of elements. Some were adventures. They're going on these things. They're trying to find these clues. This show so far is like almost a live action Gravity Falls. And I'm okay with that.
So when are we getting the Pulp Mythos Gravity Falls retrospective?
We may have to do that at some point because
We're
we
gonna have
talk
to
about
crank
it
down.
so much. I think I've mentioned in the past doing animated stuff, like having a shows specifically focusing on animated properties. We all watch a lot of cartoons, and I don't think we've ever reviewed anything animated ever.
I don't think so.
I have
Yeah,
cartoon tattoos.
even going back several years, some of the older stuff that I've taken down, I don't think we ever did. But yeah, that's something. If anyone is listening and you're interested in that, put it in the comments that you're interested. So I sort of glossed over it, but there's so many cool set pieces in that vault, from the moon activating, showing you where the switch was, to I love the more realistic coming down the rope, and Montrose just like shit. Like I loved all that stuff. There's a great line before they go across the bridge where he's tying the knots, and he tells this story. It's a great story, but it says more about who Montrose is, because he's saying how it came from a slave descendant and all this stuff, and it's a way he's trying to make Letty feel comfortable and safe. But then we learn that he's lying. That's
Yeah.
not where they came from. And he basically says, well, the ends justify the means, basically. Well, she feels safe, doesn't she? She's out there. But he points out none of the Freemans were ever slaves. So Montrose is a guy who's willing to lie in order to protect those that are close to him. And that one little scene of dialogue, and that's how dialogue's written, people. That's how you do it. You had a moment of dialogue which gave us all this understanding about a character and how he operates and how he thinks. And
Well,
I thought
yeah,
that was-
and we got a lot of that in regards to him in this episode. This episode pieced together a lot of his personality, and that one scene also explains a lot of his actions and helps you kind of understand who he is as a person. To say, that, like you said, the ends justify the means. So I'm going to hide these things. I feel justified in hiding these things from my family, and like burning this book, even though it's related to Tick's legacy in some way. I feel he feels fine about lying to the aunt about where they've been, about how George died, about all the magic stuff, just so she doesn't get involved in that, so that she doesn't try to research it or discover what happened, or get involved in any way. He seems like he's deep down kind of in his own way trying to be a greater good kind of character. He's
yeah, I agree. I don't think he does anything out of to hurt anyone, especially anyone close to him. He seems more scared than anything else.
He really
especially
does.
in the first half of the episode.
Well, yeah, because you're not sure even when he killed that siren. We don't know why yet. We don't know what the purpose is. We don't know if maybe he knows of a similar situation where that person or monster or whatever went crazy and killed a bunch of people. Like, we don't know what information he has yet. So even though he apologized to the siren, he's just like, sorry. Like, we don't know why he's doing what he's doing yet. So there may be an explanation, and we may be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Or we may be like, this motherfucker's worse than anybody. So I just think I'm waiting for that explanation before I make my judgment as to whether or not he's helping or hurting the cause.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying he's trying to do either. What I'm saying is that's his perspective, as far as I see it so far, that he thinks that what he's doing is for the greater good, whatever it is that he's got planned.
A lot of evil a lot of evil people think that they're doing stuff for the greater good.
100%.
Yeah, true. Um, yeah, I think we hit all the major points of the episode. Was there anything else y'all wanted to discuss that I did not mention?
I liked the adventure elements, but that bridge, obviously we're not approaching this like there isn't a bunch of magic involved, because that, unlike National Treasure, which is way over the top, but the traps and things could have been actually done. Same thing with Goonies, when they fall down and this thing collapses and this thing tries to fall on them. Those are all things that, although outlandish, could actually be done. But the bridge, like, essentially disappearing, is magical. So I'm really curious as to where their magic comes from. Like, what is the source of that magic?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because those were a lot of elaborate magic traps, and we had and someone clearly carved out an entire cave system or something just to hide this book. And well, clearly Tick's ancestor, but I'm just going to say I would have never crossed that bridge. The mystery would have never been solved. And
Seriously,
if it involved me crossing that plank, passing by that, just sort of swinging guillotine and removing a severed arm from that hole and then sticking my arm in it, yeah, none of that would have ever happened.
yeah, I with the second I saw it, I was like, yeah, no,
never.
no
Let's
way.
go home, guys. It's unsolvable.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no. Final thing, now that they have access to that scroll or whatever, but the siren's dead, what do you think happens? Do you think, did Montrose, do you think he hides the fact that he did what he did, or how do you think it goes? Because they didn't really cover that in the preview for next week.
Yeah, that was the question I had immediately after they cut from the scene. I was like, is he going to hide this? Is he just going to leave her there? Does he know enough about the house to dump her, below the basement with the rest of the bodies that are under the house?
Because they are in a situation where he literally, they keep saying, like, what happened? He's like, a ghost did it. And they'd be like, well, shit, maybe. I mean,
Well, Larry, you just said, putting him under the house. Who's to say that he didn't put those other bodies down there to begin with? We don't know who put those down there.
Yeah, because we don't know how involved Montrose is with all this, because he's playing things very close to the cuff, for one. So yeah, he may know about that basement area. He may not. It's hard to say, because and I imagine he would, because how would we have a situation where Tick doesn't instantly think maybe it's him?
yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have to say, I don't know, she just disappeared. And even then, Tick's going to be suspicious that he had something to do with it.
And rightfully so, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, 4 episodes and 6 more. So there's a lot more story. We're not even halfway. And I'm enjoying it. Still can't wait till we get to the Korean stuff, because they've dropped that storyline, yet we know it's going to come back. Yeah. Anything else?
I think
that covers it.
All right, awesome. So yeah, like I said, we're doing a lot of reviews now. During the week, we are doing Lovecraft Country on Sundays, Raised by Wolves on Thursdays, The Boys season 2 on Fridays, and then there's typically a movie review here or there sprinkled around. So definitely look out for that. If you want to check it out, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.